Mega Scrafty is a very interesting Mega evolution where it gets Intimidate as its ability in Mega form, but that means it can actually be able to utilize 2 Intimidates in one turn, making a very interesting supportive Mega evolution design-wise. We're going to be trying out Mega Scrafty and seeing how well it can perform. This is my take on a Mega Scrafty team paired with Toxapex alongside multiple setup Pokemon. Let's break it down. So first Pokemon we have is going to be the Mega Scrafty. Has Intimidate in the base form, and then when you Mega Evolve, you get a second round of Intimidate, so very interesting. Also gets an attack boost as well as like its defense boost as well as speed, so it gets some pretty good stat increases, which is nice, and has access to some good coverage. We're just going to be running a standard knockoff Drain Punch, Fake Out, and Detect to keep itself around. We have Detect because we want to be able to Toxic Stall stuff with our Toxapex, but also like Fake Outs, which is to enable my Pokemon to set up. Scrafty isn't going to be a sweeper on this team. It's going to be more of support, getting multiple Intimidates into the Pokemon just so my Pokemon are able to take attacks better and stick around on the field in order to freely set up is the idea behind Mega Scrafty and what's probably most usable for. The EV spread though, we still want to be able to do a ton of damage with Drain Punch and Knockoff, especially into common threats like the Basculegion and the Kingambit. We're going with as much bulk as well as attack, and we're running a little bit speed on Scrafty in order to speed creep my Sylveon, so I actually get a faster attack with the Scrafty, but it also speed creeps like some of the Sylveons in the format, as well as like Sinistcha at outspeeds and Cineroars in some cases, and some of the slower Kingambits that aren't like Focus Sash max speed. So that's the idea behind this Scrafty. Going to be more of a support role on this team than a Mega evolution just power through teams, but it can definitely put on the offense and do really well with the multiple Intimidates that it is dropping. Next Pokemon we have is going to be the Leftovers Toxapex. I really like the idea of like Scrafty plus Toxapex because of the idea of just having multiple forms of Intimidate, and think of the things that Toxapex doesn't really enjoy are usually like boosting Kingambit as well as Basculegion. Scrafty is really nice because unlike Incineroar, it doesn't have as much of a problem against Basculegion, so I think that's really nice as a supportive core. Also the fact that Scrafty of course is really weak to fighting and the fairy types, and poison is just such a great switch in into both of those typings, which is solid. And then Toxapex is just able to really just like trap in Pokemon like a Kingambit, break a sash with Infestation. Then Scrafty can come in, Drain Punch, which is very ideal. So I think also just the ability to trap in Pokemon while having the double Intimidate, because of course when you switch out, you reset the Intimidate. Having the Infestation lock with the double Intimidate is kind of how I built part of this team. So we have the Infestation to trap them in, do some residual damage, Toxic that can build up over time, Wide Guard for the spread moves, and then Baneful Bunker as a protect option, Regenerator because he might be switching out to Toxapex for that recovery, and then a lot of defense on the Toxapex. This Toxapex is what a lot of the players are using right now. Just a really physically defensive one, able to take some calcs like the big boosted Last Respects, Kowtow Cleaves, and of course like the special attacks like the Charizard and the Eternal Flow that calcs are something that this Toxapex will be able to at least eat one or multiple of those. Next Pokemon we have is going to be the Life Orb Garchomp. Pretty standard Garchomp, rough skin for ability. Any contact that comes into the Garchomp will take a bit of residual damage. Earthquake, Dragon Claw, Stomping Tantrum, Protect. Going to be running double ground move because I don't think I need the coverage against Charizard when I do have Cerulege and just a bunch of things that are able to hit the Charizard for a decent amount of damage. So I don't think I need Rock Slide. And we do have max attack, max speed, simple standard Life Orb Garchomp here. So the reason I have the Garchomp is I need a ground type for Mega Raichu Y. I think it's really strong against the core of like the Toxapex plus the Scrafty, as well as the Cerulege combo that I was really trying to build around, because I don't have Electric Resist. Zap Cannon's really frustrating to deal with, so going to have this Garchomp specifically to help out against like those electric types, especially that Raichu, and still does some pretty good damage. It's able to potentially beat opposing Garchomps, just threatening. Like Life Orb Garchomp is one of the strongest Pokemon in the format. It's really great coverage against a lot of common Pokemon, good general bulk, which pairs well, and especially if you're getting residual damage with the Toxapex, you can build them up to the calc where Garchomp is able to KO afterwards, so that's really solid. Next Pokemon up is going to be the Cobra Berry Cerulege, which is able to help out against super effective dark type moves, especially that Kowtow Cleave from Kingambit, especially some knockoffs and more. We have the Flash Fire ability, which is able to be immune to fire type moves and also power up our own fire type moves, which is really nice. and then Bitter Blade for the strong recovery, Shadow Sneak for priority, Bulk Up, which is able to increase the attack and defense of the Sarilege, and Protect to keep itself around. So I really like the idea of Sarilege as well, because one, against fairy types, I get to play a bit more aggressive than just having like Toxapex stall out, because sometimes you need the damage. Great into Charizard Y, which is not a Pokemon Scrafty really wants to switch into that often, so having a guaranteed way to switch in and just absorb the attacks is solid. And of course, the double Intimidate actually helps Sarilege a lot, because there are quite a few Pokemon that Sarilege doesn't appreciate. Think of Garchomp, think of Basculegion. 2 Intimidates in one turn can really allow the Sarilege to get a bulk up off and really help allow it to be able to run away with the game. So that's the idea here. We have the spread where it's just like able to have a good amount of attack, just a good HP investment, and then a lot into defense, specifically for the Kowtow Cleave. Even boost the Kowtow Cleave from Kingambit can not knock out this Sarilege. So that's the idea behind a lot of defense, and then the bulk up. So just able to absorb the attacks and of course get the recovery. It's a effective sweeper that can do a ton of damage. Allows to play offensive with this team. Next Pokemon we have is going to be the Choice Scarf Vanillux with the Snow Warning ability that's able to summon the snow with the coverage of Freeze Dry, Blizzard, Icy Wind, and Sheer Cold. So the idea of Vanillux on this team is, one, I want a more fast offensive way to beat the Garchomp, which I think is actually pretty important, because Garchomp, of course, with the ground coverage is able to do a ton of damage to the Sarilege as well as the Toxapex, so I did want a way to make sure that I had an answer to ground types. Also, the rain matchup is not like the prettiest thing, so having Snow Warning can be disruptive against our Chaladon, and of course Weather Ball from Pelipper. So that's the idea behind having this Vanillux, and just having a way to have some speed on this team, because I would like another Pokemon that is fast on this team other than just Garchomp. So this Vanillux, really good spread coverage. Blizzard, of course, and Icy Wind are really strong for the spread Ice type move. Freeze Dry able to hit Swamperts as well as the Basculegions. Sheer Cold, which is just going to be a backup answer in case I have to get a quick knockout and something goes wrong. I do have to Sheer Cold at least as an option. EV spread wise, it's just max special attack and max speed on the Vanillux, because you do want to outspeed Scarf Basculegion, have as much damage output as possible. So that is the idea. This Vanillux able to help out in those specific cases. Final Pokemon on this team is going to be the Fairy Feather Sylveon with the Pixelate ability, which is able to turn its normal type moves into fairy type moves, and of course increase the power by a little bit. And this Sylveon pretty standard for the most part. Hyper Voice and Hyper Beam really strong damage, Hyper Voice for the spread, Hyper Beam for the very powerful attack, and then Calm Mind. So I'm running Calm Mind over Quick Attack. I don't think the Quick Attack priority is as needed on this team. And the idea here is another Pokemon that can take advantage of the fact that having double Intimidate, so it can allow the Sylveon to set up, which is really nice. It helps out, especially in the rain matchup against our Chaladon, which is pretty important because this team, again, not the greatest into like our Chaladon. So that's kind of the idea behind this Calm Mind Sylveon, just being able to help against like those kinds of teams. Really nice in the Frostos as well with the Calm Mind, so I can eat the Blizzards and just able to fire off a ton of damage. EV spread wise, this is just going to be a good amount of special attack, some speed in order to be able to speed creep the Sinistras and like the slower Kingambits and Sylveons out there. A good amount of special attack to get the extra jump point with the special attack stat, with the Modest Nature increasing it as well. And then a bunch of defense, because even with the Intimidates, it just really adds up over time, especially since I don't need that much special defense investment when Sylveon already has a massive special defense stat. And then the Calm Mind boost is just making it's taking the attacks extremely well already. You just don't need any investment. You might as well just go with the physical defense at that point. Still able to do a ton after one Calm Mind boost and really punish a lot of teams. So how to use the team? Well, a lot of this team is about setup. Of course, you have multiple ways of setting up, whether it's the Sylveon or the Sarilege, going for the Calm Minds or the bulk ups paired with the Scrafty Intimidate. Very helpful, because of course the fake out support alongside the Intimidate is just really nice at being able to enable Sylveon or Sarilege to be able to set up and do quite a bit afterwards. You also have multiple different ways you can also try to stall out, like Scrafty does like to lead a lot, and you don't Mega Evolve immediately in some cases, because sometimes you have to wait for that opportune time where that second Intimidate can really pay off dividends. So sometimes you will just fake out in regular form, sometimes you'll just stay in regular form, especially against Kingambit where you don't want to give it 2 Defiant boosts, so that's also a thing you have to watch out for. But the fact is, just having multiple forms of Intimidate, even being able to play around the switching as well, which is pretty nice. And of course, the Toxapex that can lead with the Scrafty. You do have access to like Infestation, Fake Out Support, Toxic, just be able to wear them down over time and just build up the damage to put them in range of any other attacks can be really great for the team. Then you of course have the offensive mons with the Garchomp and the Vanillux that can play a little bit more offensive. Usually I like to keep them in the back But of course, they do have like fast damage output that is pretty solid to do. Especially the Vanillix, you do want to keep in the back, mainly because you want it as a way to switch into the weather and remove them from the play. So a lot of it will be trying to set up one of Sylveon, Sarilege, and or Toxapex, and utilizing the Mega Scrafty to support these Pokemon is the main goal of this team. If you'd like to check out the details of the team, they'll be listed down below in the description. Otherwise, let us try out Mega Scrafty and see if it is a good enough support Mega Evolution, or maybe it's not. Alright, we see the Galarian Slowbro, Milotic, Incineroar, Frostlass, Garchomp, and the Hisuian Samurott. Milotic a little bit of an issue, as well as the Frostlass, but otherwise this is pretty playable, I'd say. I do like the Sylveon a lot here, because Sylveon does match up pretty well. Unfortunately, I can't really say the same thing about Sarilege in this matchup. It's probably a no-bring here. Garchomp is, I'm questioning if I bring it. I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, it's probably not necessary. I do kind of like Toxapex plus the Sylveon. It's pretty good against my opponent's team in general. As well as Scrafty for once I get rid of Milotic. I think I should probably bring a backup answer to deal with the Milotic, which is probably the Vanillix, because Freeze Dry is pretty good. It's also like pretty good at just being able to outspeed my opponent's team and just direct him with like Blizzard or Freeze Dry, which is pretty nice. So I think that's probably the goal. Garchomp would be nice to be able to break through the Incineroar a bit quicker. And of course against the Galarian Slowbro, which could be a bit annoying, but as long as I have the tools, I think I'm good, because I don't know what Galarian Slowbro does here. And I'm not sure if it's brought, because it doesn't really do much to Scrafty. There is a Garchomp, but maybe I should have brought Garchomp, because technically Garchomp was pretty good against this team with the wide guard support, because Frostlass can't beat the Garchomp with Blizzard, unless this is, well, they don't run Weather Ball unless they have double Weather, so I don't think that's the case. I'm curious what the move is from the Frostlass. I assume it's probably a Aurora Veil, but it could be like a Nasty Plot set too. We're gonna see lead of Frostlass Milotic. Okay, this is pretty good. The fact that I just have Calm Mind Sylveon is really good here. So I'm gonna go for Calm Mind with my Sylveon immediately, and I think I'm just gonna draw off a Toxic. The question is, who am I gonna go for Toxic into? Both Pokemon are pretty annoying. I think I'm gonna Toxic the Milo, I guess, in case it's Haze. And I'm gonna go for Calm Mind. I could Wide Guard to cover for the Blizzard immediately, but I don't think it's really necessary. It doesn't really do too much damage. Nasty Plot Frostlass is a bit scary, but granted, if it's Nasty Plot, that means Sylveon after +1 should still take the Frostlass, Blizzard, or Shadow Ball pretty easily, I assume. And like Milotic can't really do much damage here. So I'm gonna go for Toxic. Maybe I should have targeted down the Frostlass, because like the Milo doesn't really do much here. The Milo might be switching out, so maybe I should have targeted the Frostlass with Toxic. But they stay in, okay. So we see the Frostlass Mega Evolve. Is this Aurora Veil? That would be helpful. Shadow Ball immediately into Pex is fine, okay. Doesn't do that much damage. No special defense drop is huge. They go for Scald, okay, perfect. So we don't really take that much damage. It actually did a bit more to Sylveon than I thought. Luckily no burn, so I do get a free Calm Mind up with Sylveon. And now we're in a pretty favorable spot, I'd say, because the Sylveon now is just going to be able to run shop with Hyper Voice, and my opponent has like no switch in. And these are the Pokemon I really want Sylveon to damage the most. These are the Pokemon that are the most annoying for probably my Scrafty. So if I get rid of these Pokemon, they are a lot easier to handle. So I think this turn, I'm going to go for a Toxic into the Frostlass and Detect, I think. Because I think they have to focus down to Sylveon. They might also Protect and try to Scald again for damage, so I'm willing to go for Toxic plus Detect here. If they go for Haze with Milo, a bit unfortunate, but like, there's not really much I can do counterplay-wise. I could maybe have one for Hyper Voice for damage, but I think it's okay. All right, we see the Sylveon Detect here. They Shadow Ball this turn into the Sylveon. Yep, they're focusing it down. Perfect, and we get a free Toxic off into the Frostlass, and we're starting to build up this damage, which is really important. So we're building up this damage to set up our Scrafty in a very favorable spot against the remainder. So once we get rid of these defensive Pokemon, that just, of course, the competitive Milo is the big one. then I'm in the favorable spot. So now I can go for Hyper Voice plus Infestation into Milotic. Really just build up that damage. So let's go for that Infestation. Let's go for the Hyper Voice. I could have went for Hyper Beam, but granted, I don't think it's that big of a deal. The Frost is probably fainting in the next 2 turns unless they protect here, which is okay. They go for Blizzard, which we will eat. Yeah, like look at how little we took from that damage. Yeah, nice. Scald into Sylveon. We're eating that too. We get the burn this time, but that's all right. As long as I'm getting this big Hyper Voice off and I can't get frozen the next turn, appreciated. So Milo has the Citrus Berry, so it probably doesn't have Recover. I feel like most Milotics that have Citrus Berry don't tend to have Recover. Kind of curious on what the last move is then. But that Infestation trapping the Milo, pretty huge, I'd say. Pretty huge. And look at all that damage that was just built up here over these last couple of turns. Yeah, like look at this damage. It's absolutely stunning. So I think I go for Toxic to cover a switch, or I Infestation to cover a switch. I think I Infestation the Frostlass, and I'm willing to throw away Sylveon. Sylveon has done the job I needed to do. It's gotten rid of these Pokemon. So I'm going to go for Hyper Voice, and I'm going to go for a Infestation. Also, if they do have Milotic recover, or recover onto Milotic, then that means they shouldn't be able to knock out Sylveon with the Frostlass, which means I get a Hyper Voice, and then the Toxic chip damage plus Infestation will get it. So I think that means that I always get rid of Milotic this turn, which means Scrafty is opened up. They go for Shadow Ball to cover for Wide Guard, but I had a feeling they were going to Shadow Ball a slot, and this works out pretty well for me. So I do get a double knockout, which is beautiful. And in fact, Sylveon is actually still hanging around here, so we still have a Sylveon that's threatening. So we get rid of Frostlass and Milo. So very nice. Kind of curious who's in the back. Maybe it was Garchomp plus Hisuian Samurott, which makes sense of why they didn't switch, because they were very fearful of the Hyper Voice. But yeah, now pretty good spot, I'd say. If it's... Well, let me see. If one of them is Garchomp, we bring out the Vanillux safer. It is actually Samurott plus Garchomp, which is funny. Okay. So here I'm just going to go for Baneful Bunker with the Toxapex, and I'm going to go for a... Well, they have to double the Sylveon, right? I feel like Sylveon's the biggest threat. There's no way to Earthquake themselves. I think I go hard into Scrafty here. And I go for Detect. I'm only going for Detect mainly because I am able to get a... cover the slots here, because I assume you have to make sure that Sylveon never gets an attack off, because if Sylveon gets a move off, you just lose the game. And if the Garchomp only has spread moves, I could Wide Guard, so I think the Samurott has to target the Sylveon. Okay, that's stopping Tantrum on the Garchomp. That's a bit unfortunate, but that's still okay. It's Life Orb. Ceaseless Edge into the Sylveon. That's fine. Snow stops, but I am pretty okay with that. Sylveon hangs on. Do I go back in the packs? Nah, actually, I think my best play here is just to Detect and go for Hyper Voice. Yeah, I think it's just Detect, go for Hyper Voice. I don't need to Mega Evolve this turn. I can Mega Evolve the next turn. Like, the reason you don't Mega Evolve Scrafty here is because theoretically I can switch out Scrafty for like another 2 Intimidates off into these Pokemon because of the Intimidate and the Mega Evolution. So I think this is okay here. I guess like it would still add up no matter what. So Rock Slide, I actually want you to hit the Sylveon. Okay, good. The reason I want you to hit the Sylveon is because I actually want the Sylveon to go down so I get the free switch to Vanillux. That cleans up the game. And then Sacred Sword? Yeah. But I think after this, I should be good. We get to go Vanillux. I'm going to go for Freeze Dry into Garchomp, and I'm going to go for Drain Punch, because I think being locked into Freeze Dry is the best move here of choice. So we're going to go for Drain Punch into the Samurott, and I'm going to go for a Freeze Dry into the Garchomp. Like, the Garchomp Protect is very obvious, but I don't think it's necessary for me to win here, because even if I get crit, I'm pretty sure I'd still win here. Because I guarantee the Drain Punch off into Samurott, or I still have Freeze Dry Vanillux, which is still pretty good against my opponent's team regardless. Yeah, like this protect is very obvious, but I don't think I have to overextend anything to win this game because I think even with like insane luck from my opponent, I'm still in a very good spot. The Sacred Sword is not doing anything to Vanillux. Yeah. That's the help of the 2 Intimidates. Here comes the Drain Punch. Are you Sash, I suppose? We knew it wasn't knockoff because it had access to Ceaseless Edge, so I don't think you're ever running knockoff plus Ceaseless Edge. It is Focus Sash on the Vanillux, but like at this point, I don't see how my opponent can win. Because now Scrafty at full. I still have a Pex in the back. It's -2 Garchomp. I have access to Drain Punch into the Samurott plus a Freeze Dry into the Garchomp. There really is not much that they can do. I could Freeze Dry the Samurott if I want to, but like why not just target the Garchomp? Because the Garchomp's the only thing with spread coverage at the current moment that actually threatens some pretty heavy damage, I guess, if they do crit. And if they crit with Samurott, it's still okay. No Protect, so Freeze Dry will come out, take the Garchomp. Beautiful, and then Scrafty will be able to finish off the Samurott. So it seems like I brought the right Pokemon, and thankfully, like the order just ended up being really well. They had a really tough time of dealing with Sylveon just efficiently. And once I was able to get rid of that Milotic, as well as like the Frost Slash just because of the Blizzard Freeze chance, I did have Wide Guard access though on my Toxapex, so it might not have been too bad dealing with Frost Slash. The Scrafty was just able to come in and get the Intimidates off into these physical attackers, and there wasn't much that they could do, which was fantastic. All right, we have the Charizard, Garchomp, Basculegion, Eternal Float, Whimsicott, and the King Gambit. This is the Charizard, Float, Tailwind stuff. I feel pretty all right about this matchup, I'd say. I think Toxapex Scrafty is just generally pretty good against this kind of team. Ceruledge is also pretty strong against this team if I play it correctly, so I think I do bring it. It's also like one of my fairy switch-ins. And then last Pokemon, I guess the question is, am I bringing Garchomp or am I bringing the Vanillux? I think I'm bringing Vanillux here because Blizzard just super good into the Garchomp, and if I am able to get a Blizzard into Garchomp, it's big. Also, like Freeze Dry Endgame is also pretty solid into Bask as a potential. So let's see what my opponent decides to go for with their team, because I'm not sure what they lead. King Gambit definitely can lead. I'm not too threatened by King Gambit though. King Gambit Whimsicott? Okay, that's fine. So I do lead the Scrafty and the Toxapex here. And I can get an infestation into the King Gambit. And I can fake out the Whimsicott. Gambit protects, okay. So I do break a Sash on the Whims, which is actually pretty nice. Curious what my better play is here. I'm switching out Scrafty for sure because Moonblast is coming out. Do they double the Scrafty slot or not is a good question. I need the infestation damage to build up on the King Gambit, and I think I go out into my Ceruledge here. I was debating about going for Detect too, but I think it's better to go out into Ceruledge. The question is, do they double the slot with Kowtow Cleave, which would be smart on their part. Moonblast gonna come out. Targets down at the Ceruledge. That's why I also debate about Detecting, because it kind of covers the double up. But let's see if this is double into Pex. Yeah, okay. They went for Pex, so this works out. Does a pretty hefty chunk, but acceptable. We do get an infestation off into the Gambit. I think I live +1 Kowtow, if I'm not mistaken, with the Cobra. Because I don't think this is Black Glasses King Gambit. Maybe it is. That did a lot, actually. That did do a lot. I think I'm going to Infestation the Whimsicott and just go for Bitter Blade into the King Gambit. They probably go for Tailwind Kowtow into a slot, I imagine. Yeah, this is Tailwind. That's not surprising to me. Kowtow, okay, it is into my Cobra Berry. So maybe I should have went for Detect first, or Protect. But yeah, I do survive, which is what I thought I did. So I do get the Bitter Blade, I get the recovery, and then the infestation damage is really building up into the King Gambit. So that's really good because I can double protect this turn and the Gambit is trapped. So it does go down to the combination here. So I feel pretty good, especially since Whimsicott is also in a weird spot because of this infestation. All right. So solid start, but of course this is still very much anyone's game. We are able to get rid of the King Gambit though here. And I will go for a double protect. They're also trapped in with both Pokemon, so the Whimsicott's just in an awkward spot right now. I don't mind being potentially Encore trapped the next turn because I do have access to like Wide Guard that I could go for and several other attacks, so this is fine. So we will go for Baneful Bunker here. Maybe I could have went for Shadow Sneak, but they might Sucker Punch here. They Encore the Ceruledge, and they go for Kowtow. Okay, that's fine. Okay, Pex is healthy, which is good. I don't know which Mega they chose here. I still have Ceruledge around, which is really nice because if it's Charizard back, they have to probably bring out whatever their last mon is. If this is Basculegion, it's kind of interesting because I'm kind of curious if Basculegion can knock out my Pex at this range. If it's Basculegion, I hard switch to Ceruledge into Vanillux. For sure. That's always my play I'm pretty confident in. So curious on what they decide to go for here. Because Floette, we're kind of fine against. It is Basculegion, yeah. Like, I think you have to bring Basculegion, and it's whatever Mega is the last. So I think now we just go for... I think I'm going to go Scrafty for the Pex slot, because I don't think they Moonblast the Pex. Actually, would you Moonblast the Pex? I could see you Moonblasting the Ceruledge before Moonblasting the Pex. Or Encoring. I think I go Vanillux here. I am playing a bit risky here because if this is like Moonblast, Blast Respect into the Scrafty slot, this is not great, but I think this is okay. Because I really want to preserve Pex if necessary. So I bring out Scrafty, I get the Intimidate off into Basque. Nice, they did Encore, beautiful. And then this is Last Respect or Wave Crash. Perfect. Oh, it's even in that slot, which is nice. Okay. Beautiful. Did they still have Tailwind for one more turn? They do have one more turn of Tailwind, okay. So I do fake out always the Whimsicott, and I'm gonna go for a... Do I Blizzard or do I Icy Wind here? I go for Blizzard. Or do I Freeze Dry the Basculegion? It could be Garchomp back. I think I might Freeze Dry the Basculegion just for the damage. Okay. Float is fine. Okay. That's alright by me. Okay, okay. So I do go for the fake out into the Whimsicott. I do get a Freeze Dry off into the Floette, which does some decent damage, actually. I kind of wish I locked... I don't think I mind actually not locking the Blizzard here, because I don't see a problem with just going Pex here and just Freeze Drying the Whimsicott slot. I could switch out the Vanillux here into the Ceruledge as well, but the Whimsicott slot is pinned by Freeze Dry unless they go for like Tailwind, Light of Ruin into Vanillux, which I think is a very reasonable play here on their part. I think this could just be Dazzling Gleam though. So we bring out the Pex. Like, I don't think Moonblast KOs. I think if they're timid. Because a lot of the time, the Floette sometimes just run timid. So if it's timid, I don't think they KO unless they Light of Ruin. But let's see. Tailwind comes out. This should be like a Light of Ruin. No, it's Dazzling Gleam. That's actually perfect for me. That makes my job a lot easier. Yeah, I think I live Moonblast just barely. Freeze Dry KOs the Whimsicott, so we get a Whimsicott, beautiful, and now they're down to their last two, and I can easily trap into Basculegion with a double Intimidate, so they can't really beat the Pex, which is great. So now it's just trying to figure out how I want to seal up this end game. I think my play here, just Baneful Bunker, sack Vanillux. So we're going to go for Freeze Dry into the Basque and go for a Protect. As this should probably be Moonblast, Last Respect, or Dazzling Gleam Last Respect also makes sense. Okay, it's Scarf on the Basket Legion, which also makes this easier to play around. Okay. So Vanillix goes down completely fine. We get to go out as Scrafty. We get 2 rounds of Intimidate into the Basket Legion, which is beautiful. And we have Fake Out Pressure for this Floette. So we will go out into our Scrafty here. And we will go for a Toxic into the Basque, as well as a Fake Out into the Floette. So we should be good right now. But we could lose because Basque, as always, could have some annoying factors like a crit. I wonder if I should have Toxic the Floette, but I feel like Protect is pretty likely here. Okay. Damage in the Floette is nice. Here comes Last Respect. Yeah, like Pex is actually eating that up, which is beautiful. And we do get this Toxic off. So now phenomenal position. And I mean absolutely phenomenal position here. Snow stops, which is fine. Get the leftovers with Pex. And now we do what we have designed this end game to do. Just go for double protect, stall out 1 turn of Toxic. Stall out, I guess, Tailwind too, but the Tailwind doesn't matter. I'm like slower than everything on their team. Then we go for a Toxic into the Floette, which works out pretty well for me. And then we should be able to stall out, I'm pretty sure. Last Respect into the Scrafty slot, covering a switch because the Pex switch was obvious, and they Dazzle. Okay. Alright. I'm pretty sure I live Last Respect into Light of Ruin. And if they Light of Ruin, they take a bunch of recoil to put themselves into Shadow Sneak range. So with the Floette. So I think that's okay, even if that does happen. We go into Ceruledge here. And we go for Toxic into the Floette. We can't miss Toxic. We build up the damage. We have Fake Out plus Detect as well. So we should be good here, I'd say. Okay. They get the Last Respect on the switch, which is fine. I don't mind that. Because I'm pretty sure that Pex just wins. Light of Ruin? No, they just Dazzle. Yeah, because Pex is just eating these attacks up. And now, thanks to this Toxic, I'm pretty sure I can Fake Out the Floette. Go for Infestation in the Basque, I assume. Okay, let me see how much this Toxic damage is adding up into Floette. I mean, we go out as Scrafty, that's for sure. I mean, I think the Floette is forced to protect here. I guess I could knock off the Basque, but I think my best play is just to Infestation the Basque. And Fake Out the Floette. I feel like Floette Protect has to come out here. I could go for knockoff. If I'm like, knockoff Baneful Bunker would win the game guaranteed. If they go for Protect with Floette, because then I KO the Basque. Oh, but if they do this, they just guarantee lose. Yeah, they couldn't let me get a Fake Out in the Floette, because if I get a Fake Out in the Floette, the chip damage is just too much. They go down to 2 Toxic turns, and it would be this turn, and then myself going for Detect the next turn, and then like Scrafty beats the Basque 1v1 anyway with knockoff. So perfect. Okay, goodbye Basque. Yeah, like too much Toxic. And now I just double protect to win the game because they can't break through these mons. So yeah, Baneful Bunker, go for Detect, and we are set here. So very nice. That's the power of like this kind of defensive core, because it's really hard for them to actually break through the combination, especially with well-timed just double Intimidate, especially because one of the biggest problems to Toxapex is Basque Legion. But Scrafty is pretty good at handling the Basque Legion part, while the Toxapex is good into the fairy aspects. So Last Effect is going to come out. And Dazzling Gleam. I'm pretty sure both Pokemon faint here, if I'm not mistaken. If one of them survives, not that big of a deal. I think even if both survive, I'm pretty sure I just guaranteed a win here, because I'm pretty sure I live Last Respect from the Basque Legion if the Floette survives. So I just Wide Guard plus knockoff. But yeah, the game's over. All right, beautiful. Scrafty Gaming right here. It was a long one, but that's how it goes sometimes against this kind of team when you have to play defensive against this hyper offense. All right, looks like we're getting the same plan here, which is fine for me. Although I'm kind of curious if I should lead Scrafty then or not. Because Scrafty is good to cover for like a random Basket Legion lead, but if they lead the King Gambit, then I think it's fine leading Pex plus Saralage immediately. Have Scrafty in the back, and then Vanillux I think is pretty solid. So I'm gonna try it out because I think it's just like a lot about like what do they lead here. They could also lead Garchomp plus King Gambit, which is also not like a fun time here. Because if it's Stomping Tantrum on the Garchomp, which they sometimes run on this team over Earthquake, it's a bit more annoying to be able to position, but let's see. I think they're both pretty solid. Okay, Garchomp Floods. I would have loved to lead something else here, but I don't think this is too bad. Okay. I don't know if you're Stomping Tantrum or not. That's my only question. I feel like my best play here is to throw off a Toxic. I think it's Toxic the Garchomp and Protect. I don't know. There could be a switch. They both stay in. I wonder if this is actually Stomping Tantrum and they go for the Saralage slot. Unless you're going for Protect Earthquake. Alright, there's no Protects. Is this actually Stomping Tantrum? It is Stomping Tantrum. They targeted the Saralage though, so I had a feeling it was probably into the Saralage more likely. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Calm Mind. Ooh, that one's rough. Okay, the fact that it's Calm Mind on this Floette makes this way more difficult. Oh, that's bad. Like, I can Toxic the Floette and I could probably try to go for a Bitter Blade, but yeah, this is not good. I think I should have targeted the Floette because I had Vanillux too. Okay, they go for Stomping Tantrum. They targeted the Pex. If they double up the Pex, this is okay. Because I don't think I need Pex to win. Oh, wait, that's really good for me, actually. Okay, they got a bit greedy. That works out, because getting this damage in the Floette is kind of massive. Alright, so I am able to get a Bitter Blade off into the Floette, as well as the Toxic damage. This is kind of important, because Vanillux could actually be very, very impactful. What's the last two I'm thinking? It has to be Whimsicott plus the Basket Legion, right? Like, that's what I would assume is the back. I gotta be cautious. I gotta be a little bit cautious about how I play this endgame, but I think right now it's like okay. I definitely want to go for a double protect here. Even if they go Whims, it's manageable because both Pokemon are on a timer with Toxic. Okay, that works out. I was worried that they would go for Stomping Moonblast into a pin slot into the Saralage, but because they got a bit greedy here, this works out huge for me as I am able to get Baneful Bunker. Stomping Tantrum into the Pex and a Draining Kiss into the Saralage. Okay. I wonder if Shadow Sneak gets them. Bitter Blade did a decent chunk. It did what, 48%? No, nowhere near enough. I think my best play is just to Infestation the Floette and Bitter Blade. Because I need to get rid of Floette. If they protect, is this protect Earthquake? They actually have Earthquake. Oh, okay. That's annoying, but it's still fine. Oh, that double KO'd. I had to go Scrafty, but if I went Scrafty and they Draining Kiss the Pex, that's bad. But they targeted Saralage, so maybe Scrafty was always a play there. Ooh, this is a bit rough. I think it's still pretty winnable, but like, this is definitely rough. Trying to think of what could get me a winning position here. I think I fake out the Garchomp. I think like back has to be Basculegion Whimsicott. Unless it's Gambit back, which would be interesting. I'm gonna Freeze Dry to Float and fake out the Garchomp. I think Freeze Dry should KO to Float if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I was a bit worried if Float decided to switch out. That's why I decided to do this. Because if Float switched out in like Whims, I think it was actually kind of bad for me, but... Oh, I did not KO the Flood. Okay, wait, that actually is just losing. I had to fake out the Flood. I wanted to catch the Flood switching out into Bask. That's why I made that play. Because I thought like if the Flood switched out into Bask and they had Tailwind pressure, I felt like I had to catch like something there. I wish I figured out what the back two was. Because if it's Bask Whimsicott, I felt like it was not easy to actually win that endgame. Just because the Whimsicott had Sash and then I couldn't beat it with Scrafty. Tough. Alright, we have King Gambit, Charizard, Glimmora, Whimsicott, Ninetales, and Como. This is the Elizabeth team he used to get top 8 in a Victory Road tournament. Okay. This is fascinating. I don't think you bring Charizard against me. You probably bring Glim. Glim is really good against my team overall. I have a bunch of poisons. Yeah, this is not going to be an easy one. If I can get Garchomp positioned nicely, it's really good here. But it's just hard to play around a Ninetales specifically. I think I do Toxapex plus Garchomp as the lead. With Cerulege as a switch into the Ninetales as well as the Whimsicott. And then backwise, Scrafty. Vanillux doesn't really do too much in this matchup. And Sylveon... It is good against a Como. Like, the thing is, a Como could be a bit problemsome. But I guess it's not setup Como. It is, like, Clang Scales plus Aura Spear. And they might not bring Como against this team. But let's see. Whimsicott Glimmora. That's not, like, too surprising to me. Now I just play a mind game, I think, against the Whimsicott. I guess like I have a pretty safe play of just going Scrafty and protecting the Garchomp. Because I'm kind of curious if they're going to go for Spiky Shield Moonblast or if they're going to go for Earth Power. I don't think you should ever attack with the Glim here. Yeah, they stayed in, which is perfect. Spiky Shield? Yep. They went for either Tailwind or Moonblast. Probably Moonblast, I'd imagine. Yep, into Garchomp. Perfect. Because Glim is just threatened by Garchomp usually. So now I have a Stomping Tantrum and they do not have a good switch. I guess they have like one option, I suppose. If it's Charizard, I don't think it's Charizard back. Yeah, and if they do this, they just lose to me faking out the Whimsicott and getting a Stomping Tantrum off into Glim. And then their Glim is not a mon I have to worry about. So I'm very happy about this. I get a fake out into Whimsicott. They gave me the Sash, which is beautiful. And they're going to give me the biggest threat to their team, which is this Mon. So I do get a Stomping Tantrum off. Goodbye, Glimmora. Feeling pretty good now. Okay. Very, very good start. Because you always have to play around the Garchomp when you're having the Glim Whimsicott lead. And it's not like you had Sash on the Glimmora, which made it very tough for them. Como coming in, which is interesting. Okay. I mean, my play is just to always go out into... I think it's Cerulege and Pex. I think it's just double out here. And I'm going to go in this order because if they go for Clang Scales, it's catching the Pex. And if they go for Aura Spear this into the Scrafty slot, the Cerulege will eat it up. I also eat Moonblast with both of these slots, so I feel pretty good about this. They go for Tailwind Clang Scales, which is fine. We do have a Wide Guard. Yeah, that's fine. I guess the question is, do I want to go for Protect Cerulege Toxic, or do I want to go for Wide Guard Bitter Blade into the Whimsicott? Both are pretty acceptable here. I feel like it's probably Bitter Blade because I like the recovery on Ceruledge, because if it's Backmon Ninetales, I think that's probably more important than the Toxic into the Como. So I think I'm going to go for Wide Guard Bitter Blade. Even if they protect, like the Como literally cannot do anything unless they change the team, but it is Aura Spear, Vacuum Wave, Clang Scales, which means it can't touch the Ceruledge at the moment. Yeah. But Protect Toxic would have been nice there, although it's awkward because they can Encore in the following turn, so I didn't think it was worth it. So if Blastmon is Ninetales, they don't have a switch here for the Whimsicott slot, so I'm always going for the Bitter Blade. And if it's King Gambit, they also don't have a switch. It's highly likely it's not Charizard, so I just don't think they have a switch into Bitter Blade on the Whimsicott slot. So I always just Bitter Blade the Whimsicott, and I think I always just Wide Guard spam. Because there's no way to really punish this. And gain recovery on Ceruledge is just nice, because then I could play more aggressive against the Como because it's probably locked into the Clang Scale. So Whimsicott's forced to retreat. Is this Ninetales? Yep. Bitter Blade probably doesn't knock out, but it will put in range of Shadow Sneak, which is good enough. So we will spam Wide Guard here. And then I think we would win with the Garchomp. So Clang Scales, not going to do anything, but we do get a Bitter Blade off into the Ninetales. Yeah, it doesn't KO, but again, it puts in range of Shadow Sneak, which is important. Now I can go for Toxic into the Como and put it on a timer, because I don't go down to crit Clang Scales. Yeah, and they're going to forfeit because they kind of realize there's not much that they can do. So we do take the win, which is beautiful. All right, we have Frostlass, King Gambit, Sneasler, Garchomp, Dragonite, Basculegion. Huh. Interesting team. Sylveon looks pretty good against my opponent's team. So does Scrafty. It's just like the King Gambit's a little bit annoying. I think Sylveon plus Scrafty is probably an alright lead here. Or I could lead with my... Ceruledge as well. Ceruledge is not a bad lead either against this team. But there is Shadow Ball from the Frostlass. So I'm kind of leaning towards the... Sneak for the Sylveon. I think Sylveon Scrafty is pretty good. Do I bring Pex? It's not bad here. It's not necessary though, because I could do like Ceruledge, Vanillux. Like Vanillux is really good against my opponent. Like Scarf Blizzard's really strong, and then I like Ceruledge because Shadow Sneak is also pretty effective. I think I'm gonna go with this. It's not too bad, I think, into a lot of their team. I'm a little bit scared of like how well I can play against the fast mons just in general, but I do like the fact that I have priority plus the Scarf Mon that's able to do a lot of work against them. I just need that the Sylveon needs to get a really good opening. Like if Sylveon gets a really good opening, then I feel like we're fine. Like just strong damage across the board. Frostlass, King Gambit, okay. As we lead Scrafty, Sylveon. I'm kind of curious how fast the Gambit is. I think my play is just to go for Calm Mind Fake Out turn 1, and I don't Mega Evolve because of the Defiant. I'm curious if this is Aurora Veil Frostlass, so that's why I kind of want to play around this right now, because I could see Aurora Veil being set up turn 1. They could Blizzard immediately, which I think is acceptable, but let's see. I could also see Protect from the King Gambit, because Fake Out Hyper Voice would do a ton of damage here. So let's see. There's a lot of options. Okay, I do get a Fake Out off. Is this Veil? I think Veil is very likely here, but Blizzard's also fair. Nice. Okay, got that right. So I am able to get a Calm Mind against the Gambit, which is huge. And I am faster than Gambit. That's a really important thing to know because I need to be faster than the Gambit. Okay. So with that Calm Mind, I probably can KO the Gambit, I think, with a Hyper Beam. But I'm not 100% certain. I'm just going to go for Detect Drain Punch here. They might protect the Gambit, so maybe it was the best play to Calm Mind. It's just like a call on what the Gambit does here, because I could theoretically just go for Calm Mind again. But let's see. I'm going to Detect here and see if I can get a Drain Punch. Nice. Okay, they attacked, which is good. Blizzard. Scrafty eats. Nice. We're also faster in Gambit. Oh, we're faster in Gambit with Scrafty. That's actually big. I didn't think I was faster than the Gambit, but that works. Okay, Chople. And they go for Iron Head into Sylveon. Perfect, 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 perfect. Based on that damage, what, the Fake Out did 5%, so it did like, what, 9? Okay, so Drain Punch doesn't look like it KOs unless I Mega Evolve. I could go for Calm Mind again. Hyper Voice Drain Punch is not a bad play here. I think I'm just gonna go for Hyper Voice Drain Punch. It's pretty valid of a play. They go for Sucker. I wonder if they don't have Protect. So I'm okay with that. Because I do get a big Hyper Voice and a Drain Punch. So Blizzard gonna come out. I do tank it, alright. No freezes, very fortunate. Pulls a lot to the Frostlass, good. And a Drain Punch into Gambit. So Gambit's gone, which is really nice, because that's one of the biggest threats to the Sylveon. Granted, this is probably Basque Legion, but the thing is, I can intimidate the Basque Legion, which is kind of important, but also the Scrafty is actually threatening some pretty heavy damage. So who is coming out is a good question, because I do have access to Mega Evolve Intimidate, and now, because the Gambit's gone, I can actually Mega Evolve safely. So this is actually a pretty nice spot to have the Scrafty with the ability to Mega Evolve. There was also a world where I could have went for Calm Mind with Sylveon plus like Mega Evolve Drain Punch, because that would have KO'd the slot earlier. But yeah, okay, Basque Legion comes in, that's fine. We're gonna double detect because we're stalling out a turn of Snow and Veil. I also get to find out a potential item on the Basque, and we reveal Protect, so that's good information. So that is very good information. Yeah. Trying to figure out how I want to set this end game up. What's the last mod I'm thinking? Because it's probably something super Ice Week, right? It's either Garchomp, Dragonite, or Sneasler. And I want to say it's not likely to be Sneasler. I feel like it's less likely to be Sneasler just because of the fact that it doesn't hit Pex, it doesn't hit Ceruledge. So we're going to go for Hyper Voice. And we're going to go for the Mega Evolution knockoff into the Basque Legion. With the Mega Evolution, we will be able to get Intimidated off in the Basque. And we'll do more damage with the knockoff. The more damage on the knockoff is more important, realistically. Oh, and if we see a switch, I don't know if Basque Legion... Okay, it could probably knock out my Sylveon. I don't know about Scrafty. I think it depends on the item, but this is a really good slot. And I imagine they are going to target the Sylveon with Wave Crash if this is the play. And if it's Sash for some reason on the Basque Legion on this team, then I'm good here. Last Respect, is that KO? Okay, it does. But I do get a pretty powerful knockoff. And now Vanillux comes in. Big damage to Basque. But the more important part is Vanillux comes in. And there is not a counterplay to Vanillux on my opponent's side. So we go out into Vanillux, we click Blizzard. And we get to knockoff pin. So I feel pretty good about this. So yeah, Vanillux comes in with a Choice Scarf. We outspeed all of these Pokemon. We go for a Blizzard. And we go for a knockoff. Let's go for a knockoff into... Which slot is more likely to switch out, I think? I think it's the Basque Legion slot. Okay, I got it wrong, but that's still fine. Good play on their part. They should protect Basque Legion here, yep. I thought they would switch out the Basque into Frostlass, protect the Garchomp, because then they could sack Basque, but this also makes sense. What's nice is they don't confirm if I'm Scarf or not, which is actually pretty nice. As we go for knockoff attempt. But yeah, we just go for a Blizzard here, and we go for a knockoff. We're going to target down the Frostlass slot, I suppose. There should be no way for my opponent to win this because they can't knock out the Scrafty and the Vanillux at the same time. And unless the Frostlass has maybe Disable, but if it has Disable, that's okay too. They go for Aqua Jets to KO the Scrafty here. Do we live the Blizzard? I guess is a good question. We'll find out. Good damage to the Frostlass. Luckily, they can't freeze an ice type. Okay, Scrafty does go down, which is okay here. I do not mind it because Scrafty has done the job I needed to do. Now it's just Vanillux. We have 3 turns of Snow, and Vanillux outspeeds and threatens to KO. Just don't be Scarfed Garchomp and don't flinch me. That's basically what it comes down to. If they are Scarf Garchomp and they flinch me, I do lose. But that's like the only lose con here. We go for the Blizzard, and I'm going to go for Bulk Up because if it's not Scarf Chomp, then I get the Bulk Up off with my Ceruledge here, and I'm in a good spot. I think I should have knocked off the Garchomp slot, I guess, because if it was Scarf, that does cover for a potential lose con. But, I mean, they protected Frostlass, so they can't knock out the Vanillux here. Oh, it is Scarf Chomp. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Then that was a mega misplay from me earlier then. I should have went for the knockoff into the Garchomp slot because the Basque I knew always could protect. The Garchomp wasn't sure of the item, so I should have probably thought about that. I didn't think it was actually going to be Scarf Garchomp on this team though, but thankfully Vanillux clutched up. I went for Bulk Up because if the Garchomp if it tries to go for like triple protect to stall out Snow, then at least I have access to like 3 Bulk Ups on the Ceruledge to probably 1v1 the Garchomp, I imagine. Alright, we have Metagross, Grimmsnarl, Frostlass, Pelipper, Sinistcha, or Chowdon. Frostlass and Metagross on the same team, and then they have the Rain. Okay, that's really bad, the fact that they have Metagross with our Chowdon. If this was like no Metagross, it'd be a lot easier, but Metagross is definitely a tough mon for this to handle. I think we go a really weird lead here. I'm gonna lead Sylveon plus Ceruledge. Have Vanillux because I need to change the weather, and Scrafty. This is a very, very weird combo, but the reason I'm leading this is because I don't know if they're leading the Metagross or if they're leading something else. If they lead something like Frostlass, I need to get Calm Minds up. So as quickly as possible. If they lead Metagross, I can set up with the other slot instead. Okay, this is an interesting one. Grimmsnarl plus Frostlass, that's fine. I imagine this is Shadow Ball, but I guess they could Blizzard immediately. I'm going out into my Scrafty quickly. So if they brought Frostlass, I'm kind of assuming they didn't bring Metagross. I'm assuming it's like Pelipper plus our Chowdon back. So all I have to do is just set up my Sylveon in its best possible form. And Mega Evolve the Frostlass. I don't think I'll need Intimidate in this game, most likely, because like everything on their team is special attackers. I'd rather have the bulk. I'm hoping this is Shadow Ball into the Ceruledge and then a light screen, but let's see. Oh, that's bad. Why do you have Fake Out? Okay, that's fine. They have a Roar Bell. Okay. And that's not too bad. That's not too bad. I need Calm Minds up as quick as possible, so I will go for Calm Mind here, and I will go for a Fake Out into the Grimmsnarl. The next turns are very questionable, though. I think they attempted the Parting Shot. Having the special defense boost against the Frostlass is still pretty good here for me, so I'll take it. So I get a Fake Out off in the Grimmsnarl. They flinch. Blizzard. That does a lot. But a Calm Mind is set up from the Sylveon. So Hyper Voice is actually threatening some decent damage. I think this upcoming turn, I need to preserve health on Scrafty. I'm going out into my Ceruledge and protecting. They're probably going to go for Parting Shot and a Sylveon, I imagine, here. Basically, I want to... If I had to sacrifice Ceruledge, I will. I don't think Ceruledge is too important to win the game. Oh, boy. Okay. Fake Tears. That's going to be tough. I think I live... Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I might not live to Blizzard after -1, and they're gonna go for Blizzard. I was hoping to draw the attention away for Shadow Ball, but yeah, now I think this game is over. Really? Fake Tears Grim. Oh, they retreat here. Interesting. into Arch. Okay. Wait, hold on. And they parting shot. Okay, they play passive here, which works for me. I'll take it. Because does Bitterblade unfall? I actually don't remember. Pelipper in. I get a huge hyper voice off. Here comes Bitterblade. I'm gonna do like no damage. Actually, that did more than I thought for a rain. That did actually a lot. Stamina, which is cool. And here comes the hyper voice. Decent damage. Decent. How many turns of Aurora Veil do they have left? Last turn, so I could protect if I want to. I'm debating about going for Detect and Bitterblade into the Pelipper slot, because I feel like the switch might be obvious. Like the switch, I think, into... You know what? I'm just going to Hyper Beam. Heart swap to Vanillux. I'm gonna just try to build up damage to Arch if possible, and like they can Electro Shot, they can Flash Cannon, but Flash Cannon doesn't KO my Sylveon because of the Calm Mind, and if they Electro Shot, perfect. I could have Hyper Beamed or Hyper Voice. Hyper Voice would have been pretty good here, but I still think this is pretty reasonable for me. Did they Weather Ball? They Weather Ball to Sylveon. Okay, they went for Electro Shot, Weather Ball, which I don't know if it KO the Sylveon. Okay, here's Hyper Beam. I actually would be okay with dismissing the KO, but let's see. Okay, we do KO the Archaludon, which is fine. So Archaludon gone. I just gotta make sure that the Frostlass is checked. Aurora Veil is gone. We spam Freeze Dry into Pelipper. Or do I click Blizzard? Frostlass coming in. Do I just spam? Trying to think, because I can't Sheer Cold the Frostlass. I could Freeze Dry here, or I could spam Icy Wind. Honestly, the damage into the Frostlass would be nice. I think I'm going to go for Blizzard, because Pelipper might switch out. Yeah, into Grimmsnarl. So I get some damage into the Grimmsnarl, which is actually helpful. And they're probably just spamming Blizzard on their cells, right? Or maybe they go for Veil, which is also acceptable here. Yeah, like that's fine. I got some pretty good damage into the Grimmsnarl, which is pretty helpful. And now I can go for a Detect and Blizzard, I think. Yeah, I like Detect Blizzard a lot here. Because I think they can't let a Hyper Voice get off from the Sylveon. So they're either going to fake Tears or they're going to fake out the Sylveon, I imagine. I don't think they're going to target Vanillux because I don't think Vanillux is that much of an offensive threat here. Yeah, they went for the Sylveon. Perfect. As I am able to get Blizzard off. It two-shots to Grim in this position, which is really good for me. And we also get a Freeze. Okay. I don't know how much... That could be impactful. It depends on if they unfall the next turn. Because I will click Blizzard Hyper Voice this upcoming turn. I don't mind if they unfall. They crit my Vanillux. That did so much. Okay. So we're going to go for Hyper Voice and Blizzard. They could switch into Pelipper. But if they switch into Pelipper, they're taking Hyper Voice. So I don't know. I think the Grim has to try and unfall here. Which if they unfall, it's fine. Like if Sylveon goes down here, as long as I have a position, it's pretty good. And they didn't unfall. So... Blizzard is going to come out, knock out to the Grimmsnarl, take the knockout into Grimmsnarl. Beautiful. And then I get a Hyper Voice off into Frostlass, and then it's just Pelipper versus the world. And I have Freeze Dry with Scarf, so not too concerned. Unless they crit or freeze here, my Sylveon. They did not, so I got a single target Hyper Voice, and that KOs the Frostlass. Beautiful. Okay, weird team. Weird team. But we will take it. I'm very shocked that they actually didn't just go for the fake Tears plus Blizzard. Maybe they don't have Shadow Ball on the Frostlass, but I'd be shocked that they don't. All right, we have the Star After, Raichu, King Gambit, Arcanine Hisui, Sylveon, and Farigiraf. Gonna be a bit of a tough one. Staraptor. Hopefully this isn't Charm on the Raichu. I'm kind of curious if this is Dual Mega or if this is just support Raichu with Charm for the Staraptor. It could be Final Gambit Staraptor 2 with Choice Scarf, which is something I will have to note. Lead-wise, I do not mind leading Scrafty plus Sylveon or Scrafty Ceruledge. Both are actually decent here in this matchup. I could also just lead Scrafty Pex. Scrafty Pex isn't too bad, unless it's against the Raichu. Because if it's Mega Raichu, then I actually have to play this completely differently and bring the Garchomp. I feel the best case here is probably to go with Scrafty Sylveon. And then I think in the back, it's probably like Pex Ceruledge. Yeah, I think this is fine. I do really like Garchomp. Garchomp's pretty good. I think like they have to go like Mega Staraptor if it's like dual Mega because of the fact that Staraptor is like their only Pokemon that like kind of beats Garchomp that isn't Sylveon. So let's see if that's going to be the case or not. We are going to see Staraptor Sylveon. Okay, so this is good lead here for me because I do get the Intimidate off into the Staraptor prior, which is actually pretty important. So we have a few options. I can go for Calm Mind. I can go for Hyper Beam into the Staraptor immediately. I kind of like the idea of going out into one of Ceruledge or Toxapex. I think in this case, I'd probably want to go Ceruledge immediately and go for a Calm Mind with the Sylveon. So Staraptor is going to retreat, which is fine here. Going to go out into Farigiraf. So trying to bait the fake outs for Hyper Voice. But this is still pretty acceptable for me because I get a free Calm Mind with my Sylveon and Ceruledge is in. So Ceruledge is pretty good against these Pokemon. And I will be able to get a Bulk Up as well as a Hyper Voice. So this is a really nice turn, actually. I am faster than their Sylveon, which is good to note as well. As they do go for Hyper Voice, doesn't really do too much damage. And now I'm in a position where I get to click the Bulk Up plus a Hyper Voice. And I think that's pretty good here. So I'm going to go for Bulk Up. I could Calm Mind again, but I think I'd rather just get the damage at this point. So it also, like, if they decide to switch out, because this combo does not threaten my current Pokemon on the board, I can now threaten a lot more damage, which I think is acceptable. So let's see what they do here. I don't know if they're going to try Trick Room with Farigiraf because even with Trick Room, like my Sylveon's actually more threatening to them, I think, under Trick Room. So I'm kind of curious if they'll go for that route. But I'm feeling pretty good because, again, they can't threaten the Ceruledge or the Sylveon right now with too much damage. So curious if we see a swap or if they detect, that's a free Bulk Up, which I'll take. So I like that a lot. We get a Bulk Up off of Ceruledge, and we get to go for a Hyper Voice plus a Bitter Blade, which is super solid here. That's so much damage to Farigiraf, jeez. Citrus Berry, so it is out of range of the next Hyper Voice, it looks like. They go for Psychic, which is fine, because I do tank it extremely well. Perfect. And now I just go for Bitter Blade and the Sylveon and Hyper Voice. I don't see a problem with that. I just get like so much recovery right here, so yeah, I'm just going to keep on the pressure right now with Bitter Blade plus Hyper Voice, and they haven't gotten the damage into Sylveon. Sylveon's looking like a ton of damage is going to be dropped into these Pokemon. Feeling pretty good about this. Here's what their last is. I felt like if it was Intimidate Arcanine, they would have probably went into Arcanine already. So very curious about the last. Is this Arcanine? No, it's Staraptor. So they gave me Staraptor, which is nice because Hyper Voice Bitter Blade is just so good here. I get the recovery, and I'm able to get a huge Hyper Voice. That did so much damage to Staraptor. Hyper Voice. Yeah, barely missing the knockout for Farigiraf, which maybe Hyper Voice would have just killed the Staraptor, but I think this is fine. I get the recovery, and Ceruledge is still looking like a monster on the board. Yeah, feeling pretty good. I don't see a way that they could stop this combo right now. Arcanine is revealed as the last. Okay. So we do have Scrafty for this Mon. We will go out into Scrafty here. Very safe, very nice switch here. And we will go for a Detect. I don't see a way they can punish this unless they have Dazzling Gleam on the Farigiraf or Will-O-Wisp here. Because I don't think they're ever going for a Fire move into Ceruledge. And right now I do have access to Drain Punch plus Hyper Voice the next turn. I guess like one thing that could be really interesting is if they have Helping Hand. If Helping Hand Head Smash could KO the Sylveon, but I think I'm fine here. especially because I can go for the Mega Evolution with my Scrafty the next turn and make sure that the Arcanine is not getting another attack off. And they do have Helping Hand, so I imagine this is Helping Hand, Flare Blitz, or Head Smash into the Sylveon. Nice. It is Flare Blitz, and this is perfect because I can go for Hyper Voice, Drain Punch now and Mega Evolve. So I should always live, I think, the Flare Blitz even with Helping Hand because of the second Intimidate. So, ooh, Mega Scrafty putting in the work here. Double Intimidate gonna be so strong. And because I already used my Detect on Sylveon, it's not like I could pivot out Scrafty again. Obviously no Fake Out because of the Armor Tail on the Farigiraf. Scrafty coming in and threatening a bunch. So another round of Intimidate. I feel like Protect just doesn't get you anything. I'm pretty sure I just KO the Farigiraf here. They also cannot be Pex at this rate because Pex will just win the game. Okay, so goodbye, Giraffe. I don't think I really need too much here. Like, I could pivot, but I don't think there's a reason to pivot. I think I'm just going to try to KO the Arcanine. I have some speed on the Scrafty, so I wouldn't be surprised if I'm just faster than the Sylveon. Oh, wait, I am faster than my own Sylveon, so I'm guaranteed faster than the Sylveon. Yeah, I just go for Drain Punch, Hyper Voice. Yeah. If we KO the Arcanine, we just win with Ceruledge plus Pex. I mean, I think we already win with that. Head Smash comes out, double Intimidate. Sylveon absolute E-Stat. If it was Helping Hand, we would have lived it earlier. Drain Punch into the Arcanine. Ooh, is that Sash? Yeah, it is Sash. Okay. But doesn't really matter. Hyper Voice, gonna blow up the Arcanine. And a lot of damage to Sylveon, and Sylveon cannot win. I guess I just go Ceruledge, I click Bitter Blade, Hyper Voice, and win, so I don't have to reveal Pex. But, ooh, that was amazing work, I think. The Sylveon put in a ton of work, the Ceruledge was able to, and then Scrafty just protecting again the Sylveon, which was the entire concept here of double Intimidate plus like Ceruledge or Sylveon, as well as like it can synergize well with Pex. That was the entire idea. So Bitter Blade, Hyper Voice, we should be good, I'd say. Because there is Quick Attack from the Sylveon. They're -1 attack because I did get the Mega Evolution off. Yeah. That second Intimidate putting off work, or putting in work. Goodbye, Sylveon with Bitter Blade. Although I guess it didn't matter because Bitter Blade actually killed the Sylveon. Okay. Can't really complain. Like, I think everything went perfectly. Like, literally perfectly. Didn't let my Scrafty become vulnerable to a potential Hyper Voice. Alright, we see Charizard, Kingambit, Sylveon, Garchomp, Aerodactyl, and the Farigiraf. This matchup can go either way. Usually the Kingambits don't have Protect, which makes it potential really good, but it really depends on a lot of factors here. I do really love Ceruledge here. Ceruledge Scrafty is pretty strong against my opponent's team. Yeah, I think I'm bringing Ceruledge Scrafty here as the lead. I think it's just really strong here. Do I like Garchomp? It's good, but it's not necessary. I don't need Sylveon in this game, I'm pretty sure, for the most part. I think I bring Pex. Because just another backup answer to... It's not necessary. But Wide Guard's good support for Ceruledge. No, these Garchomps tend to run double ground moves, so maybe it's just better always bring Vanillux to counter it and also have the ability to change weather. And I think I go Pex because I like the defensive core, I think, in this matchup. Like, Garchomp is pretty decent against my opponent's team. The Stomping Tantrum's always like a great thing to have, but I think I could also trap them with Pex if I need. And also just the ability to pivot with Pex I think is pretty nice in this matchup. Let's see. Gonna be Aerodactyl, Kingambit. Okay. If they lead Aerodactyl, Kingambit, that's fine. Actually, this is really good for me because I did lead Scrafty. I do get an Intimidate off into the Aerodactyl, which is nice. And I do have options like, I think this turn, I just go for Protect, Drain Punch. I could also go for Fake Out plus Bitter Blade, but they could go Giraffe. So I think I like the idea of Protect, Drain Punch. I think this only loses to Mega Evolve, Dual Wing Beat plus like a low kick into Scrafty. I think I'm willing to risk it though, because they also have to respect Ceruledge as a threat. They might also just click Rock Slide, or again, Farigiraf could come in. Okay, they do Mega Evolve with the Aerodactyl. What attack are you clicking? I think this is probably going to be Rock Slide. Because I don't think they want to give me a free bulk up here. But let's see. No, they did dual wing beat. Did they low kick double up? If they didn't, I'm in a really good spot. But if they... Let's see. Okay, they did kowtow. Thank goodness. That's actually huge. Because I am able to get a Drain Punch off into the King Gambit, bring it down to Sash, and like Scrafty healing that HP. Very nice. Unfortunately, we still have to play quite a few Mind Games the next turn. Again, there's a potential Farigiraf. I feel like if they made that play, though, they probably don't have Farigiraf back. I'm thinking it's probably... It's not Charizard back. I think it's more likely Sylveon Garchomp. Because it... Or maybe they did bring Farigiraf, because... Tough to say. Do I Shadow Sneak or not? That is the question to be. I think I Shadow Sneak regardless. Do I just double up here? I feel like switching isn't bad here, but I think I go for... I think I always guarantee the KO and Gambit. I think like that's the best option I have. Yeah, I'm going to go for knockoff plus Shadow Sneak. Okay, they switch out the Gambit. Interesting into what? Sylveon. Okay, that's not too bad for me. Because I do get to Shadow Sneak off into the Sylveon. That did a lot because of the crit. Yeah, I was about to say that did so much damage. They go for Rock Slide this time, so Ceruledge will take a bit of chip, but that's all right. Ideally, we get the knockoff. Getting rid of the Fairy Fighter would be massive here. Nice. And again, I'm preserving my Mega Evolution for later in case I need it. Now, I'd say pretty good spot. Because I can easily go out into Toxapex here for the Wide Guard scenario. So I'm going to go Toxapex for Scrafty and protect my Ceruledge. This allows me to get a potential Bitter Blade off into this Sylveon the next turn, or a Bulk Up if I want. So we will go for Protect. Is this Tailwind or is this Rock Slide? Okay, they detect Sylveon. Is this Rock Slide? Okay, Tailwind. That makes sense. Okay, that's fine. Hyper Beam gonna do a decent amount. I'm kind of curious. I think the only way they can KO Ceruledge though is through Hyper Beam. So I'm gonna Bitter Blade the Sylveon and I'm gonna go for Wide Guard. Because if they Hyper Beam, then it's the Sylveon's vulnerable, which is fine for me, right? So I'm gonna go for Wide Guard plus Bitter Blade. They're gonna retreat Sylveon. I guess the Gambit's coming in. Oh, Farigiraf. Okay, so they did bring Farigiraf. Okay. As we Wide Guard, is this dual Wing Beat? At least I get recovery on my Ceruledge, which is kind of huge actually in this. Okay, it is Rock Slide. Perfect. So I do get access to some recovery on the Farigiraf with the Bitter Blade. That is very defensive. Ceruledge is now healed. Great. I have quite a few options here. I think my best play is to bulk up here and swap out into the Scrafty. They could double out here into Gambit, which could have been scary, but I didn't think they were likely to. We do get Scrafty in. Second round of Intimidates fired off. Dual Wing Beat to cover for Wide Guard, but because they are Intimidate several times, doesn't do any damage. Did they Psychic double up the Ceruledge? Wouldn't be surprised. But they actually went for the Psychic and the Scrafty, so really good turn for me. As I do get a bulk up off with Ceruledge, now we get a bunch of potential recovery here. So I have quite a few options. This is the last turn of Tailwind for them. It is. They don't usually run Protect on the Aerodactyls on this team. I'm pretty sure that if I Mega Evolve Scrafty, I live dual... Actually, maybe I should just Protect. Protect is probably fine. Protect and just go for a Drain Punch, I think, into the Aerodactyl is pretty reasonable. I think I delay Mega Evolution. No, I think I actually just rip it. No, I do just rip it, I think. Because I didn't think that it was likely Gambit was coming in on this slot. Getting the extra bulk and the extra damage is actually pretty important into the Aerodactyl. And next turn, my Ceruledge will outspeed the Farigiraf, so I can go for Bitter Blade into the thing. And unless they go for Rock Slide, then that's okay. Like, they need Rock Slide and Double Flinch the next turn. I don't even care if I really get this Drain Punch off into the Arrow. But I didn't want Farigiraf leaving the field. Yeah, because they Psychic. The Aerodactyl's at -3. We get the Drain Punch. Fantastic. Because that's a 2-shot on the Aerodactyl. We want to get rid of the Armor Tail. The Giraffe. Feel like they've dropped a lot of Protects recently. We are going to go for Bitter Blade plus a knockoff here. And assuming we get 1 attack off in the Giraffe, we're looking pretty good. Because if I KO Giraffe, I do just win here. And it looks like they give me that opportunity because they went for the Tailwind. So they went for Tailwind Psychic. But I will be able to get the recovery on the Farigiraf. Ooh, special defense drop's actually kind of annoying. But Bitter Blade into the Giraffe doesn't actually get the KO. So they do get the Citrus Berry, but I mean, they are going down to knockoff, so that's fine. Goodbye. And now last Pokemons are Sylveon, which is, I think, threatened by the Shadow Sneak, if I'm not mistaken. And then it's Gambit. And they can't really beat the Pex at this point, so they are going to forfeit. So very nice. Scrafty Sarilege putting in a ton of work in this game. Very solid. So how was the team? I don't think, again, as I mentioned before, Mega Scrafty was never going to be really a sweeper. It was more going to be a support Pokemon that can get knockouts because it still does a pretty decent amount of damage with its high attack stat. And of course, its coverage is actually really strong in the format. But of course, with this team, you are trying to set up with either Sylveon, Sarilege, or just try to chip things away with Toxapex. So while Scrafty wasn't getting like the most amazing like sweeps or anything, it was able to play a pretty nice supportive role, even if it wasn't Mega Evolving, because sometimes you do want to preserve the Mega Evolution for the most opportune time to get the 2 rounds of Intimidate against your opponent. So I feel like the team isn't perfect. However, I do think it has some strong points. I do really love the core idea, at least of Toxapex plus the Scrafty, I think is really cool. And then having that Sarilege support as well. I think Sylveon was pretty neat. I was experimenting with quite a few different builds with the Mega Scrafty when I was initially building this team. And I think that this one was probably the most fun version that I had out here. So this is the one I ended up showcasing, and I do think it was pretty fun, and Sylveon was able to put in a lot of work, and Vanillix also was able to do some things. So if you'd like to check out the team, you could try it out with the replica code on your screen. Otherwise, you can check out the details of the team down below the description. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more VGC content as always.